He is probably Sweden's biggest food lover. He is officially now the best dressed man in Sweden since a couple of weeks. He is also one of the biggest music lovers in Sweden and one of the biggest artists. And he returns to the Eurovision Song Contest with new music that Europe has just heard live already, and now joined here by us by Benjamin Ingrosso.
Thanks for having me. Hi there.
How does it feel to hear like the fact that you're known for so many different things? You love food, you love fashion, you love music. It's not just that you're like, oh, you're a singer.
I love that because as a kid and as like my entire life, I've been a fan of different things. I grew up in an Italian family with, my father running a few restaurants. So for me, food is like passion number one. And then music, of course, because I grew up with music and everything. So I'm just glad that I'm actually a bit famous for that, because it's like, every single artist that I know and that I'm friends with, they always text me when they're in different countries wanting to go to different restaurants because they like have faith in me that my choices are the best, kind of. So I'm like a food guide to all my colleagues.
How do you find the best restaurants?
I have like a technique on Instagram that I search for. If I'm going to for an example, Madrid, I search for Madrid food. And then I come to like this like page, Madrid food lover kind of thing, which is usually a bit like kind of famous, but they always go to like the most popular places. And then I see one follower or one post that is like more of a indie food guy, kind of. So I start following that person, and then I can see all the like hidden gems. And then I start following, it's like going from one person to another. And then actually just running around the city. And when I'm in a city and I go to this restaurant, I always ask the chefs, like, okay, where can I find places like these? Or like similar wine bars and stuff like that.
Amazing. And of course, you've just been all around Europe because
Yeah.
you've just done an amazing live tour. I was at the show in Amsterdam, and you were able to premiere new music before it actually is released.
Exactly, yeah.
Was that important to you to first bring it to Europe live? And of course, Sweden heard a lot of stuff last year. They'll be hearing it later this year. Was it important for you to do it live before they hear the record?
100%. It was also a way of trying to like see if the songs were working. I mean, there's some of the songs that I performed that I went back into the studio and like tweaked, and I will go back into the studio this summer to like finish the songs and see if actually one of the songs that I performed on this tour was not supposed to be on the album, but then I changed my mind because it really worked on the audience. So it's a way of like working, like you're working with TikTok and Instagram about like how you release songs or tease songs. This is the same, but we just do it like live and organic in a way. And it was of course very scary to perform 80% new songs, so my audience couldn't sing along, but I found a way to make them sing along. And then thanks to TikTok and Instagram, people after I think the fifth or the sixth show, people were starting to sing along to the unreleased songs, which was insane.
Yeah, I had the idea. I was at the Amsterdam show, which was number 2 on the European tour, and I was getting requests all over Europe and Sweden going like, hey, what is this song called? What is this? Can you give us the chorus for this and that and that? It feels like with this new music you're bringing out, because we've been waiting for some English stuff for a while. We've had Kite, we've now had Better Days, Honey Boy is a collaboration, but it feels like you're deliberately going with a sound where we can hear the actual instruments instead
100%.
of in a landscape that is very electronic. Why did you make that choice?
I think I made that choice because I've always wanted to do an album or music like that, but I've never had the time or like the opportunity to work with these producers that I'm working with now. And also I did the Swedish album that was very organic and sounded very like old school. And for the first time in my life, people came up to me and was like, this sounds like you. And it is, because I grew up with music like that sounded like that. So I think this first album for the new like chapter in my career will sound very much like the music that I grew up with. And then, of course, the next album will sound a bit different. But I think it was important for me to make a full album that was cohesive, so that it's very clear that when I release the singles after the other, that it sounds like the same artist. Because all my English songs has been very like, because we've never had the time to actually sit down and focus on, okay, what's the first one, what's the second one. So there's always been like, okay, now we released like a trap song, and then like, you know, because I have ADHD, so I love all kinds of music.
Same here.
But when I started to like dive into my library of music, I was like, okay, in Swedish I know exactly what I'm gonna do, but in English, what makes me sound like Benjamin Ingrosso and not just like a regular pop guy singing a pop song?
Yeah.
Because usually when I release my music, I could hear, okay, I can hear Justin Bieber on this song. I can hear, not that it's that good, but I mean, I could hear his voice. But now when I started like listening to the new songs, I was like, I can't really hear another person singing these songs. And that's when I found my sound, kind of. And it is more quirky and more rough and more organic and more fun, I think. Yeah. Like, I mean, Kite is like, you know, it could be so easy. It's very fun. Yeah, and the Honey Boy is like, when I was young, I never danced, we never danced. It's like you can't really play the melodies on the piano, and that's what I love. It's more like talking.
There's also some really emotional stuff on that album as well, which I noticed at the show. There were times where you're like really diving back into telling a story as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think that if you look back a couple of years when most of Europe saw you last because you've been so focused on Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think you could have been able to do that now, or did you need that growth after and doing the different side projects, like working with the guys from ABBA, but also doing the cooking show and stuff like that?
It's 100%. I needed these years to evolve and to find to become older, to get older as well. I mean, when I did Dance You Off here in Eurovision 6 years ago. A long time ago, I was still, you know, doing music that sounded a bit like old school, but it still had the modern sound, and it was more very much like a pop record. And I mean, that songs also sounded very like modern in its production, not like my music sounds now.
No.
And if I would have competed in Mello and then like, or in Eurovision or whatever, I think now today I would do something more like the sound that I'm doing now, and which is for me to be able to perform here as an interval act for 7 minutes with 3 of my latest songs. It's like a blessing. Like, I'm just so extremely proud, and I'm also proud of what we're actually gonna do on stage, because I think the people that remember me from Dance You Off, they will not see the same guy.
No, I've been warning them.
Yeah, a guy with beard and long hair and half naked.
But there's this joy and energy when you go on stage, and then when you go off stage, you're like very relaxed and chill.
Oh, you think?
But I think you're very like, this is like very relaxed. But then when you go on stage, I've seen it. You are making everyone feel part of that show. You're jumping around and everything. And I'm wondering, who in your family did you get that from? That energy of like, you turn into a rock god on that stage. And Europe, I think Europe will see it tomorrow night.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. I think it comes from my dad. He's an Italian, he's a dancer from when he was younger. And we have that kind of thing where you like, you really want to show them. Yeah. You want to give them a concert. And I also get excited when the people, when the crowd is a bit boring or a bit bored. When they're like standing like this. That for me is a challenge. So I see like, okay, I have 1 hour now to make them go nuts. Absolutely. And especially bonkers. Like the guys like further back in the audience that usually stand like this. When I get them standing like holding each other, hugging, screaming to a song they never heard, I made my job, kind of.
Yeah, we've seen it happen where audiences really don't even want to leave. You came back in Amsterdam. Yeah. You played a Swedish song. I saw you somewhere else in Europe. Had to come back in a bloody towel because they were still there 30 minutes later.
Yeah, 15 minutes later, not 30.
And I was like, this guy's going to catch a cold because he's like sitting there coming straight out of the shower.
I was this close to show my down part of my body.
But I'm wondering, you now get to do 7 minutes on that European stage. You get the complete freedom.
Yeah.
What's the process like of creating that, and what is the vision you want to show? Because I'm hearing 21 dancers, everything. What's that? What's that vision like?
I mean, the vision for me is to just bring what we're gonna do this summer and what we've done on this European tour. And we kind of like last summer I did the Swedish tour, and I knew that next year will be the English sound and the songs and the album that comes out later this year. And we kind of like we went to Berlin for a few days just to find what's the visual, what's the title of the tour and everything. So we found the Better Days tour kind of thing, and we found the color red that I always like loved, and a bit of like a Monty Python kind of like 90s, very much like black and white meets red and blue. Nice. And then we just like, okay, we're just gonna keep on doing that color world. So I think tomorrow you will see just a world of Benjamin Ingrosso that is very funny and very much in the face, and it's very like clear.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah. And we spoke about this when I last saw you in Amsterdam, is that you have a couple of creative queer people around you, and I'm just going to show it because I'm wearing it, but their merch and everything is done by some. It's done by some really amazing queer
100%.
people. So
that's my creative director.
So tell a bit about who is in your team.
So my creative director, Dennis Berkner, he is he was my stylist from the start. So we did the Dance You Off number and everything. And then I just discovered that he should also be in my like core team of building the world of Benjamin Ingrosso, and not just like, you know, a cover. It's more of a universe, you know. So it's cohesive and everything. And then I have the best label that he works together with, that are like, you know, doing all the like. For me now, I've always been a creative person, but there's so much happening in my life. So now I'm more able to be like, Dennis and we have the same brain. So he comes up with different options, and then we sit together and be like, okay, that's a cool thing. And then I can come up with an idea, and he goes to the label and, you know, for a few days, and then he comes back with something that's like, wow, this is great. So I mean, tomorrow it's a collaboration between me and Dennis and my manager and my choreographer Sign that is doing the choreography. He did the Dance You Off number as well.
So it's kind of a big reunion of that moment.
Big
full circle.
Reunion, full circle. And Edvard, who's like the press director kind of thing, or not press director, but he's directing the whole show. He's also a very close friend of mine, and he did my mom's latest show. So it's like coming to my family, I guess.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
2 more questions before I let you go.
Yeah,
the first thing I have to ask is, you're a fashion icon. I mean, I got the book from your tour last year. From a friend, and it's literally look after look after look, and there's so many different things. You work with denim, you work with leather, you work with a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
How do you decide what is and what isn't Benjamin Ingrosso? Is it like, do you see it immediately when you're stylist or you see fashion, or is it something you sometimes have to think about? Because I have that where I go, I have to sleep on this tonight.
100%. There's so many options that I really want to do, but then I think twice, and I'm like, nah, maybe that's not me. But I mean, it's about the way you feel, and it's a daily kind of thing. Like today, I feel like I want to wear this. So when we were on the tour last summer, it was more about what vibe we had for that show, and also we thought like, because I love to be a what do you say, chameleon?
Chameleon, yes.
Chameleon. But it still has to feel Benjamin. And I mean, when I grew up, I had so many different like characters that I loved. So I always try to bring some of the characters into the stylist. Like if I had like a pink kind of thing, I'm like, okay, this could be Austin Powers-ish. Or if I had a suit, I'm like, okay, this can be more like James Bond. Or if I had like a dress, I'm like, this sounds like this. I can imagine myself being like a Batman-ish. Like I have to find some character that I can relate to make it feel me. But then also we love to switch the, like what's obvious for the show, we did the opposite. Yeah. So when we were at this festival with like, you know, fireworks and everything, you could see me having like a leather jacket kind of thing. But then we did the opposite. We had like a suit. Oh, nice. So that mix of like rock and roll with a suit was pretty cool. And then we had like this full-on like more classical venue, and then I had more of a naked kind of sexier vibe. Awesome. Just to make things look a bit not classic kind of.
Do you feel pressure sometimes when you go like, oh my god, I like, you've just been given an award for best dressed man in Sweden?
100%.
You must get pressure.
Yeah, I mean every day, but also it's like I think now I have my wardrobe is pretty sick.
How big is that wardrobe?
It's a big one now.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I also have like my own little store in my apartment.
Oh my God.
Where Dennis
love
comes
this.
and he hangs up the outfits for the week and stuff. It's like I'm spoiled as hell.
Nice. Of course, now we are waiting for that album, but you're going on tour in Sweden.
Yes,
first.
yeah, and in Scandinavia.
In Scandinavia.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I've seen the show. This show with that band and
Yeah.
that new music belongs on major festival stages. Is that
That's the goal.
your next goal to go to?
100%. That's our next goal. And I mean, this summer, to all of you who didn't see the Europe tour was very small venues and very much like intimate rock and roll. This will be like extra everything. We will be 12 people on stage.
Wow.
And I will have one of the coolest sets on stage, and it looks fantastic. And we're gonna give you fireworks and the best freaking show that you can ever imagine to see. That's my goal, at least.
I can't wait. And
So it's something totally different from what you saw.
So basically, Europe has to come to Scandinavia this summer and see
100%.
it. But I think most of the shows will sold out anyway.
No, there's
We'll find some
few
tickets
left. Yeah.
And then, of course, I want to finally answer this question with you. You've put so many hidden things in all these new songs.
Yeah.
We know there's the thunderstruck chords and everything in there. Is there something people haven't found in the songs that have been released? Like a little joy and fun. Can you spoil one of those?
I can't. I don't want to get like. I don't want to get in a bad situation here, but I mean, Honey Boy is about a woman that if you like search in Google and stuff, you can find who it is about.
Okay.
And then I also had the pre-chorus was, I kind of took it from an old Toto song.
Ooh, I love that.
But then I changed, so it's not too similar. But if you like dive into the song, you can find where I stole it from.
Yeah. And can you imagine that in 20 years' time,
Yeah.
people will do that with your songs, Benjamin, and we'll see.
I
that
hope
tomorrow.
so. That's my dream.
And people will see that tomorrow night. Europe will be enjoying 7 minutes of the new vision of Benjamin Ingrosso, a new reintroduction back into Europe.
Yes.
And I'm so excited for the world to get back into it. Benjamin, thank you so much for spending some time for us. And we're going to be partying tomorrow with you. We're going to be in the audience. We're going to I'm going to be singing along, and it's going to be an amazing time. Benjamin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you